What's happening, everybody? Trey here with reactions to the classics, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Smiths' second record, Meat is Murder. I did a review of the Smiths' debut record and really enjoyed that one. This is going to be the first time I've heard this record. We're going to do it reaction style today. Because of that, I'm going to chop up the songs a little bit to avoid some copyright issues and just so the video's not an hour long. If this is your first time stopping by the channel, I appreciate it. Here, reactions to the classics, we take a look back at some of the most classic albums of all time, do reactions, reviews, live streams, a bunch of fun stuff here. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, should have hit that big red subscribe button. And we're just going to get kicking off today. And before we do that, we're going to get into some quick facts of this record. This came out in February of 1985 on Rough Trade Records, just like the debut album. It is also in the Rolling Stones list of top 500 albums of all time, coming in at 296. This is the only Smiths album to reach #1 on the UK chart. It reached 110 on the United States one, and this one's a little bit different than the debut because Marr and Morrissey produced them themselves, along with help from engineer Stephen Street, whom they met recording the song Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now. Morrissey provided some BBC sound effects records to kind of gear the sound towards what he wanted it to be, and this is a bit more political album, and we have some anti-Margaret Thatcher stuff in here. Obviously, based on the title, we have some pro-vegetarian beliefs coming through here, as well as anti-corporal punishment. So Morrissey stepping out and being a little more outspoken. Not that he wasn't on the debut record with some of the themes, but I'm interested to hear how the politics kind of permeate through this record. And the single How Soon Is Now is added to the US edition of this record. Here on Spotify, we're sticking to the UK. We'll get to all the singles that weren't on the album whenever we look at the compilation Hateful of Hollow, which I will do once we wrap up the proper studio albums. All that to say, let's just get started with this thing. I got the lyrics pulled up over here, and as I say on my reactions, this is going to be the first time I've listened to this, so my opinion might change on certain songs as I listen to them more, but this is just going to be kind of what's going through my mind after the first run through, man. So let's get started with this. The Headmaster Ritual. Johnny Marr called this riff what Joni Mitchell would have done had she been an MC5 fan. So he's already drawn me in with that quote. Let's see what we got. Got that patented Marr jangly pop sound already. I love it. I'm already really digging this tune. Melody is just fantastic throughout this entire song. Meshes well with Morrissey's vocals. You can just hear that desperation in his voice. All right, that was a really solid opener. If the rest of the record's going to be near that quality, I think I'm in for a treat here. As I mentioned during listening to the track, really love the melody. That Marr guitar, just it's like an old friend, man, whenever you hear it. Just that jangly type of sound, yet I've never heard another guitarist really like him, just the way his tones are able to come forth. It's very unique, and it contrasts well with Morrissey's vocal delivery there, as you noticed at the end there, just how Morrissey's kind of almost howling, really just extending out his words there at the end. Going through the lyrics here, pretty easy to tell what the song's about, being at, and I mean just based off the title, the Headmaster Ritual, noting just the Manchester schools, the people that are running it, the authorities there abusing their power, kind of stuck in the times. Here in the first verse, jealous of youth, same old suit since 1962, and he does the military two-step down the nape of my neck. That causes the character here to want to go home. He doesn't want to stay here, obviously. That's the prevalent lines throughout the chorus. Give up education as a bad mistake. And then I like what Morrissey did here with the song. As the verses continue to go forward, we start to really kind of escalate. Now we have same old jokes since 1902. He's still doing the military two-step down the nape of my neck. People in power here are just stuck behind the times, not changing with the youth, and just think that since they're older, they can use that old authoritarian type of style over the youth, and then that causes the main character to give up life as a bad mistake. So now he's not only giving up education, he's giving up life as a bad mistake. So very great tune, both lyrically and musically here. We'll see how many we add to the Spotify playlist. There's already one right off the bat. And we're going to move on now to track 2, Rusholme Ruffians. I hope I'm not butchering that. And it says here that the song's about Manchester and what makes the city sound exciting. Let's get into this. Already got that great bass line coming in. You know me, I love those bass lines. All right, just we're not too far through the song, but I'm loving the more upbeat type of nature to the track. Morrissey's vocals here are definitely different than they were on our opening tune, and here, obviously setting last night of the fair, notes that this girl is famous, funny, but an engagement ring doesn't mean a thing to her because her mind's consumed by brass, money. But this main character, he might walk home alone tonight from the fair, but he's still going to hold on and believe in love, even though he might not have it right now. So I'm digging it so far. Let's see what we got in the rest of the tune. Thank someone for the love. This is the last night of the fair, and the breeze in the head of speedway operator. It's orange when the soda was denied. She said, how quickly would I die? To the jump from the top of the parachute. I love that fatalistic type of line. Fits the Smiths vibe well. Wow, I liked how we progressed in that song as well. We have right here, schoolgirl is denied. She said, how quickly would I die if I jumped from the top of the parachute? Like how he brought in a bunch of different characters here. We had the girl at the start who's kind of the uppity up type of girl who really just cares about money and not love itself. We have the boy protagonist here who wants love but doesn't have it at the moment, and then we have this schoolgirl here who's really, I guess, contemplating suicide. And so I dug this one. I think that it wasn't as good as the first track, but it was still really, really solid. And I like the story here. Kind of had that old-time 50s type of vibe to it, with the fair, the grease in the hair, and just a little bit of those rockabilly type of riffs in there in addition to that. So 2 for 2 so far for me on this one. Moving on to track 3, I Want the One I Can't Have. Kind of sounded like a helicopter there. On the day that you meant it's a banger. Easily my favorite so far. This is a fantastic track. Yet again, Morrissey stretching out that line there. I love it. Woo! All right, we already got to add that. There we go. We already got to add that to the playlist right there. Wow. Morrissey's vocal delivery here, I just thought was fantastic. And lyrics here, just you can tell based on the vocal delivery from Morrissey, just the emotion that he's really feeling in these lines. On the day that your mentality decides to try to catch up with your biology, come round, because I want the one I can't have. It's driving me mad. It's all over my face. You know, how often do you see that from yourself or from people you know who really are going after a girl or guy, and, you know, maybe they're already in a relationship or feelings aren't reciprocated, and you can tell it on that person's face. And here, whenever we get the, you know, mentality decides to try to catch up with your biology, we could have some of those like homosexual themes, because that was prevalent a lot in that opening record. And I know Morrissey's sexuality has been a bit ambiguous just from what I've read up on him, but he touches on these homosexual themes a lot. And you know, who knows, maybe I'm reading too much into that, but it kind of fits, I think, some of the song in here. But you can read it, I think, any way you want, which is a mark of a great song. It just kind of lets the listener decide what direction they want to take it. So that's definitely my favorite one so far. And then we're going to move now to track number 4, What She Said. Great groove in here, man. Lovely lyrics too. We'll analyze those here in a bit. Man. I like this jam session we're getting at the end, letting Marr just kind of go off. Man, another fantastic tune here. I love the perspective from the female here, and it just from that first verse, it just grips you in right away. What she said, how come someone hasn't noticed that I'm dead and decided to bury me? God knows I'm ready. What a way to start a freaking track, man. Kind of reminds me of the girl that was at the fair who wanted to, you know, jump off the parachutes, kind of. So we have some some depressed people in these first four tracks, but it's reality, man. It's real life. A lot of people feel like this, and that's probably why some of the Smiths tunes just endures to this day. Some people interpret this as really just kind of Morrissey's thoughts and beliefs, but he's saying it through a female perspective. So that's an interesting way to write a song, and part of the reason that Morrissey is a very great songwriter, just from the small amount that I've already heard from him. And I really love the melodies here. Kind of got that punk breakdown at the end with the drums going in. Marr able to just kind of freewheel on the guitar a little bit. And I just love this final lines here. I smoke because I'm hoping for an early death, and I need to cling to something. A little bit ironic whenever you're suicidal here. You're hoping to die, yet at the same time you still want to cling to something in life that wants to like get you through maybe to the next day type of deal. It's a little bit of a paradox there, but one that makes you think here in this song, and makes you feel for this protagonist and for where she's coming from. And so I really enjoyed this one. I'm going to have to add it as well. I try to be a little tough on the songs I add, just so the playlist doesn't get overrun, but we're off to a really great start on this record. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Now we're going to move on to The Joke Isn't Funny Anymore. This one reached number 49 on the UK chart. Marr cited it as one of his favorite Smith songs, and in '85 Morrissey noted that the song was a response to the journalistic mockery of his songwriting that dwelt on the unhappy side of life and to persistent attempts to expose him as a fake. So I do some research on the tracks before I listen to them. I think having context for the songs helps you judge them a little bit better. So let's get into this one.
Park the car at the side of the road. You should know. Time's time was mine. I wish I could laugh. But that joke isn't funny anymore. It's too close to home and it's too never.
Lovely start to this tune. Great effects on this guitar here that Marr is using. I like it because we get to put the instruments up at the forefront now. Gotta add this one too. There was a nice, one of my favorite current day bands is a hardcore punk band out of California called Touche Amore. Really recommend y'all check them out. On their opening debut record, they have a song called "And Now It's Happening in Mine," and they name drop Morrissey in there. And I didn't know though kind of the origin of this, and that phrase was in a Smith song. So that's one of the reasons I love going through these, classic records, man, because you pick up stuff from what you love currently and, can see influences and all that cool stuff. So that was cool just for me. And for the song itself, just some great lines here for, again, that theme of depression and alienation, being an outcast, that Morrissey touches on quite a bit and is touched on this record already. I think this comes to the forefront most here. saying that when you laugh about people who feel so very lonely, their only desire is to die. Well, I'm afraid it doesn't make me smile. I wish I could laugh. So much packed into those 4 lines there about how people don't always take into consideration, especially I think famous people, that they have feelings too, and emotions, and what you say can really hurt them. And I hear people all the time say, well, why would they care? They have money, they have fame, and all this other stuff. Well, that doesn't mean that they're not going to take words and criticism to heart, especially if you're doing it just maliciously or to get clicks or whatever. Morrissey really putting it all out there, the bridge, kick them when they fall down. He delivered that kind of haphazardly, I think almost like he was just a beaten man, and I think that fit that and reflected the motion of the track very well. So I'm digging this. We're over halfway through the record now, and we're gonna move to track number 6, Nowhere Fast. Again, got a little theme of old school rock and roll in here, as we did earlier on the record. What a line. One of my favorite lines on the entire record came there at the end, and when I'm lying in my bed, I think about life and I think about death, and neither one particularly appeals to me. Going back to a little bit of that desperation theme, that confused where to go in the world type of motif that we've had throughout this entire record, just through various forms and narrators and characters. And I enjoyed that track. It's probably my least favorite that I've heard thus far, though. I mean, it was solid, but I think that goes to show how good the other tracks were. A track like Nowhere Fast doesn't necessarily jump off the page to me. That tells you how good the songs are around it. Criticisms of the Queen at the time: I'd like to drop my trousers to the Queen. Every sensible child knows what this means. The poor and the needy are selfish and greedy on her terms. So that's really the first line in here that just was so starkly political. A decent tune for sure. And we're gonna move on now to track number 7, Well, I Wonder. I'm already liking this intro. This song's special, I can already tell. These lyrics, man, ooh, hit you in the heart. Wow. This combined with the melodies and instrumentation in the background, this song is fantastic. Got the rain in the background just to add to some more melancholy to this already brutally sad track. Wow. What what a unbelievable song. I mean, obviously, I mean, I'd add this one twice to the playlist if I could. I'd say that's my favorite Smith song I've heard so far, no question. Even though I really love This Charming Man and a lot from that first album, this one was just at another level. From the lyrics to just the wonderful melody to just the emotion, the sadness that's provoked here. And I mean, just from the start, well, I wonder, do you hear me when you sleep? I hoarsely cry. Well, I wonder, do you hear me when we pass? I half die. Please keep me in mind. Please keep me in mind. Obviously, this guy is really yearning for, I would assume, a former lover. Maybe they've broken up. Maybe he's kind of at the end of his rope here, just in life in general. And this verse too, man, just gasping but somehow still alive. This is the fierce last stand of all I am. Gasping, dying now, but somehow still alive. This is the final stand of all I am. Then that outro where he just hit those falsettos, and I wonder, please keep me in mind. Just what a great way to display that sadness that has been apparent and been a theme throughout this entire record, but it hits a climax right here with Well, I Wonder. And we go now to track number 8, Barbarism Begins at Home. A little bit of a funky sound in here. That's a hint of late 70s Talking Heads. This is a song you can't help but get into, bobbing your head, tapping your foot. That nice extended jam out here. This long outro. What a bass line. Whew. Best on the record so far, bass line wise. Like how all the instruments just faded out. I enjoyed it because it was different, because Morrissey wasn't the MVP of that. He wasn't really the highlight with his lyrics or voice, and Marr wasn't with his riffs or guitar melodies. This was a showcase really for Andy Rourke, and that's the best I've heard him up to this point on either record. That said, the lyrics themselves still had a lot going for it, talking about, you know, in that first track we had the abuse of power from the headmasters, the school teacher, stuff like that. Now we bring it into the home, how crack on the head from the parents to the boys or the girls who did for whatever they said or did. And as I noted in the listening of that, a crack on the head is what you get for not asking, and a crack on the head is what you get for asking. So kind of the old damned if you do, damned if you don't. I enjoyed that. One could argue that the ending 3 minutes there, that musical outro, could have been cut in half. They might have a leg to stand on it, but I enjoyed the groove so much that I didn't mind it. So now we're gonna finish off with the final track, Meat is Murder, the self-titled tune on here. I'm sad that we're at the end, and I would imagine here we haven't got a lot of really like vegetarian type of lyrics on this record that I would expect from an album called Meat is Murder here. So I assume we're gonna get that in this tune, so let's see what we got. We got a saw in here. It sounded like a cow mooing. Definitely a bit of an ominous intro there with that saw or whatever that was continuing to go with the cows. And now we get this great guitar work by Marr coming in. Bookending the outro just like we did the intro with the cows here, and I like that thematic, bookend. Definitely a strong way, just in form of topic, to end the record. We had that on the Smiths' debut as well with Suffer Little Children's. Morrissey believes that a death for no reason is murder. Flesh you so fancifully fry is not succulent, tasty, or kind. I did like the lyricism in here. Thought that he was able to pack some great words and alliteration, and just some rhyming in here pretty well. An interesting way to end the record off, because it just leaves the listener feeling a little cold, I guess I'd say. But I think that's intentional, going with the topic. Is it a song I'd listen to a lot on repeat? Probably not. But in the context of the record, I think it fits well as being kind of that ending big grand statement that they were trying to make, not only naming this album Meat is Murder, but then just kind of leaving the listener with that at the very end here. And that's going to move now to my favorite tracks. As we look here, we have the Headmaster Ritual. What a great way to start the record. I Want the One I Can't Have, a nice 3-minute just propelling, jam-packed tune. What She Said was great. That joke isn't funny anymore with the depressive type lyrics, and how what other people say can really affect you, I loved. And then Well I Wonder was by far my favorite. I think it's the best song I've heard from the Smiths from these first two albums. So I don't give an overall score just off of my first listen, because I like to digest it a bit more. But I did, just first impressions, I did like this album more than the self-titled debut. I thought it was a bit more consistent and a bit more musically mature at certain points and interesting to me. I'm looking forward to going through to hear their last two, especially The Queen is Dead. That's going to be coming up next in the Smith rotation. I've heard so many fantastic things about that record. Tons of people say it's their best album, so I'm going to be looking forward to that. If you enjoyed this video, please give a big thumbs up. It helps it kind of get in the algorithm, and if you're not subscribed, consider hitting that big red subscribe button. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on Meat is Murder, your favorite tracks, and where you think it kind of ranks in their discography. We'll be back soon. If you got any other album suggestions you want me to do in this format, please let me know. I kind of like mixing it up with the review and the reaction format. Kind of is the best of both worlds. And until next time, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Happy listening, my friends, and I will see you next time.